Hey everybody, it's me Jill, and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 13, Episode 18, The Reunion Part 2. All right, you guys. I don't know if my standards are getting higher or what. I was just going to say, this is a pretty good Part 2, but all things considered, if I were to compare it going toe-to-toe with some of the other franchises, there were a lot of good moments, I would say. So anyway, let's get into it. We begin where we left off with part 1, Teresa accusing Melissa and Joe of putting her in jail. So Caroline Manzo, you're off the hook. Andy goes, you don't really think your brother and sister-in-law are responsible, do you? And Teresa goes, they hung out with people that were responsible for doing that to me. Side note, she's not proclaiming innocence, by the way. She's just mad that the rats turned her in. So Melissa again denies that she even knows who Joe Giudice's ex-business partner is. And Andy reminds Teresa that you were married to the person that put you in jail. And she's like, yeah, but I spoke to the FBI. I would love to have been a fly on the wall during a conversation between the FBI and Teresa Giudice. What would that conversation look like? My brother put me in jail. Ma'am, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Yeah, he did. My sister-in-law told him to do it. They were friends with my ex's business associate. Ma'am, I still don't know why you're here. So Jennifer says, Andy, there is some proof. Melissa, I don't even know the man you're talking about. And Teresa goes, my brother knows who he is. She then admits that Joe wasn't trying to do it to her. He was just trying to do it to Joe Giudice. Teresa's like, yeah, it's sad. It's so sad. Melissa, we didn't commit mortgage fraud. You did that, doll face. Okay, side note, Melissa, enough with the doll face and doll. Hey, it's you, doll. That was what you said that Margaret did. You're like, that's how Margaret talks. Like, we call her Dynasty or whatever, because Margaret's always like, doll this and doll that. Well, this is the second time Melissa has used it in the reunions alone. Doll face is on her word of the day calendar, and she's trying to get it in as many times as possible. Teresa brings up how she knows this from Jacqueline again. And that's all Melissa needs to hear, to pull out her phone and say, oh, because Jacqueline is such a good friend? Then she shows us a text from Jacqueline Larita to Jackie Goldschneider. I didn't even know those two knew each other. But here's what it says. I know I shouldn't care, but her arrogance, voice, and the fact that she gets away with way too much after being a nasty asshole bothers me. She's a low-life trash bucket. She's stupid, but also very calculating. Even with her 2 facelifts, eye lift, nose job, shaved forehead, Botox, fillers, and new boobs, she's still so ugly and thinks she's a goddess. LOL. No, I'm not bitter at all. LOL. Every time I see something on her, it irritates me all over again. Obviously, LOL. She's infamous for being a dumb, classless train wreck. She doesn't get it. Okay, so I guess the text is from last year before she made up with Teresa. Obviously, LOL. I'm not bitter, LOL. So as Melissa was reading it, Danielle's like, this is mean. And Dolores goes, this is bad for you, Melissa. You're going down. I wonder if Dolores would have said that to Teresa. Because she didn't say that to Teresa when Teresa accused Melissa of sending her to jail. And that to me seems worse than Melissa reading a text. Also, what does she mean by this is bad for you, Melissa? I don't know. It's mafia mentality, whatever she means by it. Next, we move on to Rachel. She says she doesn't have a nanny because she'd rather hire someone to do the cooking and cleaning and laundry so that she can spend time with her kids because, you never get that time back. And Andy's like, you're making me feel guilty. And Rachel's like, I'm sorry. She should have just said, no, you're a single parent. That's different. I see Andy posting things on Instagram all the time with his kids. And by the way, most single parents or even working married parents don't have the luxury of having a nanny or a housekeeper. So yeah, their time is spread thin between work and getting all the chores done and spending time with their kids. It doesn't mean they should feel guilty about it. We're all just trying to do our best here. Rachel is asked about Jennifer calling her out on having a terrible nose job. And Rachel says something like, and then she went to my doctor, something like that. And Jennifer just like goes off. I don't know. It's like she's been waiting for this all day. She said that she asked Rachel if she had ever seen the show before. And she said, no, not really. And Rachel goes, I never said that because it's not true. Jennifer, oh, you did 100% say that. Bravo lover 1234. That was her fake Finsta account name. So, okay, I see where this is going. Jennifer wanted to have a gotcha moment with Rachel by calling her out for having this Instagram account where her handle was Bravo lover 1234. I mean, not the most original name, but okay. And, Rachel kind of beat her to the punch by saying, I never said I never watched the show before. That I wouldn't say that because that's not true. And then Jennifer denies, I didn't go to your nose doctor. He offered to fix mine, but I said no. I've only ever had one nose job. And I have the video to prove it. I can send it to you, Andy. Andy's like, no, thank you. I never used her doctor. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. She's on fire. Rachel goes, Andy, can you get her to stop talking? Andy goes, she'll run out of gas in a second. Jennifer, listen, I knew her for 2 minutes. You think I'm stupid enough to vent to her about Dolores? Rachel, yes, you are. I totally believe she did because she was trying to get the new girls on their side, her and Teresa. Jennifer goes, I was just giving you my perspective on the history because you told me you didn't watch the show. We move on to the adoption of Jaden, John's son from a previous marriage or relationship. Everything went fine with that. It went through and she did adopt him. Andy goes, I guess the birth mother spoke to a blogger about it and said that you only wanted to adopt him for the show. Dolores comes to her defense and said, Rachel told me years ago that she wanted to adopt Jaden. Andy said, the birth mother is also saying that John is preventing her from seeing or speaking to Jaden. What's the story there? Rachel, well, unfortunately, I think one of my castmates can speak to that better than I can because she was contacted because of Louis. Okay. She said she was contacted because there was information about the prison she was in. And Andy goes, Louis tracked her down? Rachel, had somebody track her down. I was told this by someone very close to me. Andy, someone on the cast? Rachel said no. Teresa, oh, I have no idea. Andy says to Teresa, why would Louis be tracking down his birth mother? Again, Teresa goes, I have no idea. Instead of saying he didn't, don't you think it's weird for her to say, I have no idea why he did? It almost sounds like she knows that he did it, but she doesn't know why. So Rachel goes, watching this season, it makes sense. He's screaming a private investigator's name at us. Bo Dietl knows stuff. Margaret, yeah. He said that verbatim. Bo Dietl knows stuff about everyone in this room. Teresa, look who's talking. She's got information on everybody. And Margaret, I never hired a private investigator. And then Teresa does her mocking thing with her fingers again. Oh, I don't hire a private investigator. Because you don't have the money to. What? Okay, that does not look good. That definitely sounds like you guys hired one because you're rich enough to do it. So Melissa goes, oh, so Louis has the money to hire people to hurt us. Great. Great catch you got there. Teresa goes, you started this last season, Margaret. And Margaret goes, I didn't do anything. And Melissa goes, you apologized to her. You said she did nothing wrong. Did you forget about that, Teresa? Teresa, I apologize for throwing everything on her. Yeah, side note, I don't ever remember Teresa telling Margaret she did nothing wrong. I could have missed it, but that would shock me if she said that. Melissa and Teresa have another fun exchange now about storylines. Melissa's like, your storyline was that you were supposed to be all about namaste. Miss Namaste. Teresa, don't take my lines. And my line was, namaste, bitches. Melissa, well, namaste your asshole. Teresa, yeah, stick it up your ass. And Melissa goes, I would love to. Teresa, yeah, do it. Melissa, if I could find the namaste, I would stick it right up my ass. The dumbest conversation, but it's somehow funny to me. Now we are joined by Jackie and Jen Fessler. We start with Jen Fessler, who apparently had a significant amount of work done. Facelift, nose job, weight loss. She's asked about her first season, and she said that the actuality of it, like the filming and stuff, was better than she anticipated. But the aftermath of filming, that's where it gets a little tricky for her. She's asked about the, public's reaction to the James Gandolfini story. And she said that she was surprised by how offended people were. She's like, I mean, come on, I wasn't always this old hag. Andy tells Jackie, you look as healthy as could be. He tells her she looks radiant. She really does look good, you guys. I never thought she looked bad before until I now see her after like a nutritious diet. She admits that it was difficult coming back as a friend of, because it happened at a time in her life when she had just gained a lot of weight in a short period of time and she was not feeling great. She's like, I didn't want to move backwards, but it did give her time to write her book. I can't remember what it's called though. Andy mentions that Dolores has been very open about being on Ozempic and asks Jackie what she thinks about that. And I think she has a very thoughtful take on Ozempic. It's funny, when I first heard about Ozempic and celebrities taking it or whatever, I immediately thought, oh my God, this is perfect for the Housewives. I promise you they will all be on it as soon as they can get their hands on it, because especially at the time, it was very expensive and doctors weren't prescribing it unless you had diabetes. Like, it wasn't FDA approved, or maybe it still isn't. I think the one version, that Mounjaro, I think that is now approved for weight loss, but Ozempic, at least at the time I'm filming this, I don't think is approved for weight loss, even still. Doesn't mean that all these women and celebrities aren't getting their doctors to prescribe it, but it's, insurance isn't covering it. And so your average everyday person isn't able to take something like that because of the cost and everything. But yeah, I just remember thinking, oh my God, with all the work these women do on themselves, I'm sure they're all going to be on it. They're not all admitting it, but I bet a lot of them are. I think right now, Margaret has also admitted to being on it, and I think Jen Fessler. Anyway, like I started to say, I think that Jackie has sort of experienced take on it. She said, look, I understand the desire to be thin and how addicting that can be. But one day people are going to have to go off of it. And as I understand it, the weight comes back very quickly. Then we're going to have all these people who are addicted to being thin suddenly going, oh my God, what do I do now? And that's where dangerous habits come in. And that's what scares me, she said. We move on from that without hearing from Dolores or Jen Fessler, so I don't know how they feel about what she just said. Then we talk about the Ireland trip and how Jackie can guzzle Guinness and how Melissa got drunk and in the van was saying that she was going to drunk dial her ex. And Andy asks her if she remembered that. And she goes, I remember that night. It's just how I get when I'm drinking. Like, I'm just having fun and being silly. Teresa. And my brother was okay with you saying that? Melissa. You think I was serious? Teresa. Well, the brother I grew up with wouldn't be okay with it. And Melissa goes, see, this is how she twists something that's lighthearted and fun and silly. And Teresa's like, well, I don't know. I would never say that. So Andy and Melissa at the same time go, did you think I was serious? Teresa, it doesn't matter. She's married. She has children. She just shouldn't say something like that. Melissa's like, you call people. You have children. You shouldn't say those words. Teresa, but I had a reason to say that. Okay. Oh Oh, anyway, they talked about her bachelorette party. Andy's like, but you liked your bachelorette party? And she said, I had a good time. Then Andy goes, what's the problem you have with male strippers? Jennifer, she's just not into it, Andy. If Jennifer's not Teresa's spokesperson, she wouldn't have much to say. So I guess we need to just let her have it when she needs to jump in. Teresa, I said I was into Channing Tatum. What's his name? They all correct her. And Melissa goes, you said that while you were married. Oh my God. You like Channing Tatum? And Teresa goes, yeah, and Louie knows it as well. We watch Magic Mike together. Like often? How many times can you watch that movie? Okay, before we come back from the next break, we can see that the guys are starting to arrive at the studio now. And it looks like they are being kept in separate dressing rooms. In dressing room number 1, we have Bill, Nate, Paulie, and Louie. And in dressing room number 2, we have Joe, John, Joe B, and Frank. In room 2, they're like having a drink, and Joe Gorga goes, I don't know why I love you guys so much. And Frank goes, why wouldn't you? It's not like you have any family to love. Okay. Oh, God. Okay. All right. That was funny. All right, the next segment is lighthearted. It's about how the housewives have a way with words, and we kind of go through a montage of Teresa saying that she was raw as a cucumber, and then how she said, wow, it's like a fresh of breath air. We move to Melissa thinking that an arsenal is a book, Danielle's conversating, and finally Jennifer's Booga-Wolf. Jen Fessler's like, no lie, I have used Booga-Wolf about 20 times since then. Andy asks Melissa to define arsenal. She gets it right, but first she guesses, when people have information about you. We also learn that conversate is actually in the dictionary now. They consider it a slang word now. It has been added to the dictionary. Margaret's like, that's fine. I just wouldn't use it on a college application. We move on to Margaret. There's a bunch of questions, viewer questions about Jan's kids and how her relationship is with them. And she reminds everyone that Jan passed away last year and it's been very difficult. She has a relationship with his sons, just not his daughter. And that is still estranged. We talk about her sex life with Joe, and then Teresa is asked, who has more sex now in the group, you or Margaret? And she goes, it might be equal now. And Margaret's like, it's probably Teresa now. And then Teresa's like, and we have to add Dolores to the mix now. A viewer question for Margaret. Why is it not okay for Jennifer and Teresa to say you're a better friend than an enemy, but it was okay for Jackie to say it, and it's your tagline? She said that it's because Margaret and Jennifer were forewarning the new ladies and making it out that she's not a good person. Viewer question, Margaret. Jennifer says you have dirt on everyone. If so, where do you get your information from? Do you have a Google alert on everyone? And Teresa's like, yeah, ask her. And Andy's like, that's what I'm doing. And Margaret's like, when have I revealed anything other than about Bill Aiden? And Teresa goes, my boyfriend at the time, and even Jackie and Evan, that rumor. Andy goes, you brought up the cheating rumor about Evan. You know, doing stuff. Like stuff at the gym. Teresa says, because I heard it from my brother, who heard it from Melissa, and Melissa heard it from Margaret. Melissa denies that. Teresa said, yes, I did. Andy says to Margaret, what did you do to piss off Laura? Margaret, I was trying to get her on the show, and then I realized that our friendship was more about her getting on. And someone told her that the way to get on the show was to cause drama. So she called Jennifer and Teresa to go over there. And Teresa goes, now you tried to get her on the show too. Andy's like, she just said that. Teresa's not paying attention. Plus, time out. Isn't your whole thing, you and Jennifer, that Laura thinks Margaret blocked her from being on the show? Now, Teresa, you want to make sure that we all know that Margaret tried to get her on the show? It makes no sense. Where are you going with this? Jennifer says that she met with Laura because it was the beginning of the season when the stuff was coming out about Bill and the affair. That was airing, and she was like having to relive it all. And she was mad. So she thought, let me just hear what she has to say. And Margaret goes, but this whole Laura thing, we already knew about it. Like, we discussed it. Andy, you had already told Melissa about the rumor that you heard from Laura? Jennifer, well, one person looks shocked. Danielle. Jennifer goes, I invited Melissa and Joe over for my 45th birthday. It was around the same time as Teresa's 50th. And Melissa and I had gotten on a call, and I told her what Laura said. And she said to me, I know this already, because they talked to Joe, Louie, and Teresa. And when Joe came home, he said to me, do you believe how disgusting my sister is? Now, I guess that was Jennifer's way of trying to call out Joe and get Teresa mad and let her know that she's on Teresa's side or something. I don't know. And Teresa just said, I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, but your husband did. And you should have told him not to do it, not to invite your brother over, or to invite Melissa too. So Andy asks Jennifer, so then why did you bring it up on camera to Danielle? And then when Danielle said, I'm going to tell Melissa, you were like, no, don't do that. Yeah, good question, because you're caught right there in a lie. We see the flashback. It was the party at the 1920s party at Paul's house. And Jennifer's like, no, you can't do that. And Danielle's like, I would want to know if it was me. And Jennifer's reply is, I have tried so hard not to repeat this. And he's like, you acted like it was a big secret when you already told Melissa. Now, this truly feels like a gotcha to me, because I'm waiting with bated breath to hear what Jennifer is going to say, how she's going to answer it. And you guys, I am praying that somebody doesn't interject and then we never get to hear her answer. But that does not happen. This is how she answers. Because that was the narrative that was playing out. What? First of all, it sounds like we're just kind of breaking the fourth wall here. You're just saying that this was the narrative for the season, and this is not reality TV. This is the story for the season. This was the narrative. That's one thing. Second thing is, this was the narrative that was playing out, but it was the narrative that you created. Margaret's like, because she went to acting school, don't you know that? And Andy's like, well, she's a good actress then, because I believed it. Jennifer, I didn't want to tell Danielle. I knew Melissa knew, but I didn't want to tell her. So now Margaret, looking right at Danielle, she goes, do you see what they did? Are you hearing this? Andy, Danielle, how do you feel knowing that Melissa already knew, that Jennifer already told her? And Danielle goes, well, I didn't know that. And Andy goes, I know. That's what I'm saying. How do you feel about it? Margaret goes, that's my point. They didn't tell you. Andy, do you feel set up? I mean, you lost sleep over it. You were upset. And Melissa goes, they just used you to bring it to the finale. And Danielle goes, I like Melissa. She's my friend. And Rachel's like, you were manipulated. They're trying to get her to understand that. And so finally Danielle goes, did you guys set me up? There's a very long pause. Jennifer. I'm sorry if it came across that way. I didn't realize that's how it was going down. Margaret looks at Danielle again. She's like, someone you thought you were friends with lied to you. Danielle, this is frustrating. She says, I don't feel like I was set up. Okay, because I was told this information and it was up to me to decide what I was going to do with it. Okay, but I would need some answers if I were Danielle. I would need to ask why the whole entire time Jennifer never once said to me, Melissa already knows the rumor. Danielle's like, I chose to believe that I'm nobody's pawn. Margaret, but you were. And Andy says, I think you might walk away from this having an opinion about it. Yeah, Basically, he's like, once you've had time to think about it, you might not feel the same as you do right now. And I also understand that she's hearing this in real time, like live TV. I mean, it's not live TV, but like the cameras are on her. When she's hearing about it for the first time, she's processing it. And yeah, I do believe there's a part of her that's like, I'm not gonna go against like my side of the couch, my friends here. And I don't like how this sounds. I'm confused by it, but also I don't want to look like a fool. Then Jennifer's like, would you rather I hide it, Andy? Do you like it when housewives hide things? Andy ignores her. Question, show of hands. Who here thinks the rumor is true? Nobody raises their hand. But Jennifer says, I just believe that Margaret told this woman that. Yeah, of course she does, because her whole reason for the rumor had nothing to do with Melissa. Jennifer doesn't even have a beef with Melissa this year. It's just that she wants to take down Margaret, which is what, Melissa was saying earlier. Melissa is asked who she blames the most for this rumor, and she said, well, I blame Teresa and Louis for talking to my husband about it without me there, and Jennifer for telling Danielle on camera, because then Danielle had to tell me on camera. We check in with the guys backstage, and they're talking about how in 13 years, it's never gotten this bad. And Frank's like, what's the one difference? And somebody, John, I think, said, Nate. And they laugh. And Frank's like, it's only gotten this bad since Louis. So back to on stage, they're talking about, I guess Teresa is saying that Louis just wanted Joe to be able to get in front of the rumor. That's all. And all I said to Joe was, I want you to know this is coming from Margaret. That's all I said. And Melissa goes, yeah, you wanted to hurt Margaret. I get it. But then why wouldn't you say, Joe, you and Melissa come over? Of course, I don't believe this. And Teresa goes, I was about to leave because I felt bad. Melissa, you should feel bad. Teresa, why should I feel bad? Oh God, you just said, I feel bad. But because Melissa said you should, you immediately had to do the opposite. Why should I feel bad? I don't know, girl. Why did you say you felt bad then? You tell us. Anyway, Melissa's answer as to why she should feel bad is because you were trying to break up your brother's marriage, and he has 3 kids. Teresa, no, I didn't. I don't care. I wish you all the happiness. Melissa cuts her off. Teresa, you wish, but you called my husband behind my back. Teresa, next question, Andy. And Melissa goes, no, not next question. Andy loses his cool when they both have to get the last word in. He's like, you're like kindergartners, which, as we all know, is an insult to kindergartners. Teresa's like, just talk to Louis when he comes out here. And Melissa goes, oh, because Louis wants to be in the story, huh? He wants to be part of the show. Hey, guys, we got a new bitch boy. Teresa, because your husband made him one. Oh, so she's not denying that he is a bitch boy. Just that Joe made him a bitch boy. And Andy's like, you two should just keep talking to each other every fucking second. And Melissa's like, sorry. Teresa, oh my God, I can't wait to never see your face after today. Andy, okay, well, let me know how that goes. I mean, it really doesn't sound like he thinks that they're getting rid of Melissa. So either Teresa's going to have to figure it out, or she's going to have to leave if she can't work with Melissa. Now we check in with the guys backstage, and Frank is ready to go. He's like, I never say anything, you know that, but not this time. The fact that he fucked me over this year for no reason. And Joe B goes, how about how he fucked over little Frankie? Then we see like a never before seen flashback. Joe and Frank are talking about how Frankie worked for Louis. That was like at the end of last year, we found out that Louis got him a job. And I guess apparently Louis's company shut down, but he never told Frankie, and Frankie kept calling him and Louis was ghosting him. That's bizarre. Because, Frank's like, yeah, I mean, that's the part I'm upset about, is why didn't you tell him? Side note, why doesn't that piss off Dolores? That makes me feel like there's more to this story, because I can't imagine her being okay with anyone, screwing over little Frankie, okay? Then back to backstage, Joe Gorga goes, what is his agenda? And Frank goes, I don't know, but whatever you do, don't fight him, because he will kick your ass, unlike Joe Giudice. And then they all start laughing. Also, side note, why can't Louis put a shirt on? Every time we check back with the guys in dressing room number 1, everyone is fully dressed except Louis, who is shirtless. For some reason, I cannot figure out, because it isn't that he's been putting time in at the gym. Okay, next we delve into Jennifer. We start with her coffee reading. There's a viewer question. Jennifer, did you think people would really fall for that? Jennifer's like, Angie's very good at what she does. Her day job is a nurse. She looked after No-No. And Melissa goes, that's how I knew her. I was like, that's the nurse. Jennifer, Angie asked me, am I going into the lion's den tomorrow? Because she knew about the friction between Teresa and Melissa. She was like, Melissa never came to visit No-No. I don't like Melissa. Margaret, oh my God. Jennifer. I kind of love it, though. Melissa's like, it's just let's run Melissa over with a truck day, I guess. Andy, Jennifer, you asked the coffee reader about your marriage. Jennifer goes, we're getting off the point of the story, though, Andy. Anyways, Andy does not stop reading the question. His voice just gets louder and louder. Has Bill's perception of therapy changed at all since the season ended? So Jennifer says, that one session did wonders for us, Andy. Things have been so great between us. Right. First of all, that's not really how therapy works. Secondly, how do you explain the fact that at least twice on camera after that one session, you suggested that you guys go back? She also says that she really understands the pool house now that Bill explained it to her, and that in fact, both of them go out to the pool house now, and they'll go out there in the evening, and it's a nice getaway. Look, I'm all for it. I totally get needing to get away from the kids for a little while. We get into Margaret exposing the affair and the effect that it had on the kids. Margaret said that she will take no responsibility for the children because she thinks that there were obvious problems for years. And Jennifer's like, no, there wasn't. She was carefree and fun, and she wanted to be on Broadway and in musicals, and now she wants to be a therapist. She learned about it from TikTok. And Margaret's like, no, you talk too much in front of the kids. A viewer asks Jennifer, doesn't she think it's hypocritical that she brought up this rumor about Melissa on camera after what happened to her last year? Jennifer basically says she did it because she knows that they wouldn't hesitate to do it to her if they had that information. And Melissa goes, I never said anything about Bill's affair. And Jennifer's like, I know, I'm sorry, Melissa. I know sorry doesn't cut it. It didn't for me. Basically, too bad. This was about me getting back at Margaret, and you were collateral damage. Jen Fessler says, look, setup or no setup, what was the point of the finale of sitting Melissa down to tell her, there's a rumor that you're cheating on your husband? Danielle, it was for her to kill it. And Jen's like, kill it on camera? No. Andy, it seems like Jennifer got the blame for meeting with Laura, but it was Jennifer and Teresa. And Margaret said, I asked Teresa about it. And we get a flashback to when she was over at Teresa's house at the beginning of the season when Teresa invited her over. And Teresa just said, yeah, but I didn't do anything with the information. And then back to the show, Teresa goes, and I didn't. Well, Louis did, and you were sitting there with him. Viewer question. Margaret, you seem to stay on good terms with Teresa all season. And now on social media, you've been taking shots at each other. Margaret. Because when I saw the things that came out, Bo Dietl was screamed in my face at the finale. The private investigations, all of it. Teresa, it wasn't screamed in your face. Sorry, Teresa, it actually was. She was standing right there at the party at Paul's house when he yelled, Bo Dietl's got information on every person in this room. Jennifer, I think he was just fed up, Andy. Margaret, things have transpired since then that I have found out about. Jennifer, like what? Margaret, well, my family, my child was called and threatened at work. Okay. Teresa, what? By who? Margaret, by Louis, and we have the phone records. Okay. See, I told you there have been a few revelations during this part 2. And Teresa's like, okay. And Margaret goes, Teresa, you know it's true. Melissa, that's some freaky shit if it's true. And Margaret goes, it is true. And everybody knows it. Jennifer, did your son talk to him? Margaret, he was called by name, threatened. I'm the guy you've got to worry about. This is a very high-level place. No blocked calls can come in. No one would even know where the office is. And then she says, this is their phone number. And she hands a piece of paper to Andy. My child would have no idea who this person is. It happened last week, April 13th. Then Andy shows it to Teresa. He's like, that's his phone number? And Teresa goes, yes, but spoofing. First of all, I'm like, how the hell does Teresa even know what spoofing is? But then Andy said, there is some hacking going on among the housewives. And Andy, apparently, where we've all gotten calls from each other. But what's different is when I pick up, there's no one there. Melissa goes, yeah, same with me. Teresa, no, with mine they do. And we've asked private investigators, and they're like, that does happen. Okay, I have written in my notes in all caps with 4 exclamation points. Ask what they said. It drives me nuts that Andy says, yeah, this spoofing has been going on, and we get a call that looks like it's coming from one of the housewives, but when I pick it up, no one's there. And Teresa says, no, for me, there is someone there. Why is the follow-up question not, what did they say? Who was it that was there? And what was said? I can't be the only one that wants to know this. Anyway, Melissa said, but the number has to be stored in your phone because that's how they're hacking your phone, and then they have access to all the numbers in your phone. And Teresa goes, no, it doesn't. I did my research. Andy's like, why would Louis call her child? And Teresa goes, he didn't. Okay, but you're suggesting that it's some kind of spoofing to make it look like Louis's phone number called Margaret's son at work. Okay, so Margaret's like, you know this is true, and so do the police. And then to Dolores, she said, you know this is true. Dolores, I don't want it to be true. Margaret, you know how upset I was when I called you that day. Dolores, yes, she called me about it, and she was very upset. Teresa, oh, why didn't you tell me? Dolores, she told me that you knew. I asked her, does Teresa know this? And she said, yes, I told her. And Teresa goes, well, why didn't you tell me too? Like, as a friend. Dolores, to be honest with you, I don't want anything to do with this at all. Teresa's like, okay, do what you gotta do, baby. Oh, okay. She's getting off the hook that easy? If Melissa said, I don't want to get involved, you would be all over her. You're my sister-in-law. You need to have my back, but apparently your oldest and dearest friend can just say, I'm not getting involved in this. I don't know. Also, I feel like something's a little off with Dolores. Something's bothering me about, you know what it is, I think? I'm just realizing this right now. I think it was ever since she said, Melissa, this isn't good for you. That kind of bothered me. So Andy's about to go on, and Teresa goes, Andy, can I just say one thing first? While we were sitting here on the couch, I just got 2 missed calls from Margaret Josephs. And Rachel goes, Louis watching from backstage, though, Teresa. I think that's kind of the irony. Side note, I did not mention this, but she was on her phone, Teresa, while Margaret was getting her papers out to show the phone record or whatever to Andy. Teresa was sitting there doing something on her phone, like it looked like she wasn't paying attention. And I was going to say something like, oh God, Teresa, it can't even be bothered to even care about this or whatever. But it did look like she was, I don't know, texting. It does seem now like she could have texted Louis and he would have had time to call her twice using Margaret's number if he knows how to do that. I don't know. Anyway, Margaret's like, oh my God, this is a business phone. She's talking about her son's that no one has the number to. And Melissa's like, it's a landline. Again, Margaret's like, a landline that no one has the number. So, yeah, I think she's saying it's a little less plausible that this was a spoofing thing that was done to her son's work phone. Yeah, it does seem hard to believe. And Teresa's reply now is, you've called people that are in Louis' past. Margaret, I've never called anyone in Louis' past. I never want to see his fucking sham of a face again. Andy, okay, well, you're about to. Teresa, yeah, he's gonna be right here. And you're gonna be looking right in his eyes. You're disgusting. You're the devil. Margaret, you're a criminal. Teresa, oh, I'm a criminal? You're a criminal. 'Cause look. And she's like pointing all around the room. You put that rumor out about Jackie and Evan. Oh, God. First of all, no, she didn't. Not on camera. You did that. And secondly, that doesn't make her a criminal. You were actually in prison for 11 months. Then Margaret's just like, you're gaslit every single day. He belittles you. He makes you look like an asshole. Teresa, belittles me? Jennifer, no, he doesn't. And Margaret's like, he belittles the shit out of you. The world saw it. We did. Teresa, Jen Fessler, he belittles me? Why Jen Fessler? Jen Fessler's like, she wants nothing to do with it. Also, what? That's Margaret's friend. Jennifer's like, you've always been kind of the voice of reason. So that's why they want it to come from Margaret's own friend. But yeah, she won't. And now she and Jackie are, we say goodbye to them and it's time for them to leave the stage. So now during a break before the guys all get out on stage, it's just the one couch on the left, the Rachel, Margaret, Melissa couch. And their guys are out there too. Melissa's like, have you heard everything that was going on? And Joe's like, yep. And then, you guys, this breaks my heart. We can hear Danielle and Nate behind closed doors, but Danielle still has her mic on. You can hear her whisper to him, they set me up. Oh. So she does believe it. She was just trying to save face on stage. I feel bad about that. I know that like she participated by, bringing it up on camera and stuff like that. But also, I don't know. She's new and I feel like she was manipulated by them. I don't like it. Anyway, then we see Andy in Louis' dressing room and he's telling him he's worried. He's like, and Louis goes, why? And he goes, it's very emotional out there. I just need you to promise me it's not going to get physical because I am going to be the first line of defense. And I don't want to get the shit kicked out of me. I don't blame you. But Louis promises it's not going to get physical. And that is where part 2 ends. So yeah, not bad. Not bad at all for part 2. And part 3 is with the guys. And I think this is going to be where the magic happens. Yeah, there's going to be a lot going on next week. So for that reason, I hope you guys are there with me. If you liked this recap, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. And a reminder that I am going on a break after next week, after part 3. I am going on a break, but I don't know for how long, at least 3 weeks, maybe a month. And so if you do click on the bell icon, you'll get a notification when I post my next video. So yeah, you don't want to miss that. All right. Next week, final part of the reunion. I love you guys. I'll see you there. Bye.